The Big 12 experience and the funeral of the Pac-12 edition on the Big 12 experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, is brought to you by Patreon. Score exclusive perks, content, and contests, including our NFL win totals contest with a $1,000 free prize. Join today at sportsgambling.com/Patreon.
The Pac-12 is dead.
And welcome everybody back to the Big 12 College Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We got a special edition. We're taking a break from our team previews. Go check out the previous 4 team previews that we've done. Ironically, we were supposed to do Iowa State today, and obviously there was a little dust up in that program. So we'll fill you in on the latest Hunter Deckers at the conclusion of this episode.
Big dust up in the program. But if you listen to the show 2 weeks ago, we let you know that dust up was coming.
Yes, no, the dust up is coming.
This was previewed multiple times. I let you know the dust up was coming.
We'll talk about the fixed dust up at the end of the show, but before we got to talk about the Pac-12 funeral, the Big 12 emerging. I guess the Big 10 continues to flex their muscles. But if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And I am joined each and every episode on the Big 12 College Experience. First up, he's got the ACC, Big 10, Pac-12 alliance. That really worked out well.
Nice historic alliance there. Very historic.
No doubt. He was born in Provo, Utah. He has family in Ames, Iowa. He lives in Morgantown, West Virginia. He is Rambling Rush. Rambling Rush, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. And before I prepared a little bit of a eulogy for today's funeral, obviously have the black polo on. I remember back in 2020 when the Big 10 was part of this too, but at least the players, on the other hand, they revolted. So shout out Justin Fields there. But the Pac-12 wanted to cancel a football season. So be careful what you wish for. So to all those coastal elites out there that think they're better than God themselves, you got absolutely what you deserved. And a little while ago, I was part of a wedding, and my buddy Alex Ballinger gave me this great bottle of Woodford Reserve, and he said, break it out for a special occasion. So to all the non-BYU schools out there, we're doing a little bit of toast, and I'm not even pouring it out because it would be a waste of whiskey. So doing a little toast here, a little shot. Pac-12 is dead. Delicious. And I'm going to chase it with a nice BYU chaser. Shout out. Can't forget the Mormons. Was born in Provo.
There's caffeine.
Little Diet Coke.
Shout
it's allowed
out.
Now. So the Pac-12 is dead. This is not a celebration of life. We are dancing on the grave. Life is good, baby.
Life is good, and you're wondering who that other voice is. He is batting in the 3-hole in the middle. He's the Big 12 guru. He's loved the Big 12 his whole life. He's got his seed everywhere. May have to spread that seed into Arizona here soon. Mr. Big 12 guru. He's got his seed in Texas, Oklahoma. Not in Iowa yet. We're working on that. Cincinnati, Orlando, Morgantown. He is the Big 12 guru, Troy Chewning. What do you got in store for this soft-ass Pac-12 league?
Well, I'm fucking pumped to play Pac-12 golf courses in Arizona. That's all I'm thinking about is we can go out there as a group and play a fucking golf course in Arizona and be like, this is our country. Hell yeah, let's bring that on there. On the heels of Rush, I also have a Pac-12 eulogy. Suck it. That's my eulogy.
Yeah,
those guys thought they were better than everybody. Thought they were the best conference in all of sports. I mean, they call themselves the Conference of Champions. When you only have 4 teams left, how many champions can you have?
They are now the Conference of Tree Huggers because all they got left is fucking Stanford and Cal. Did you get that press release from Brett Yormark copying his style on Colorado? They're back.
It was pretty good. I mean, hard not to laugh.
Yes, no doubt. And yeah, it's quite the day. Obviously, Oregon and Washington were rumored for for weeks and weeks and months. They finally joined they leave the Pac-12 for the Big Ten, joining USC and UCLA, who did so last year. Arizona is all but official to the Big 12. We'll see what happens with Arizona State and Utah. All signs say that they're going to join the Big 12. Honestly, they'd be fucking idiots not to. Rush, give me your thoughts outside of your eulogy for the Pac-12 so far in the events of the last 48, 72 hours. By the way, I've had this we've had this graphic ready for the last 72 hours, and we finally could break it out today.
Well, they tried to prevent us this morning. The Pac-12 had their one last hurrah, but apparently I guess that was just Washington and Oregon getting the more money for the Big Ten. So good job to them putting us all back on our heels. But dude, it's done. Like the Mountain West now has a bigger brand name than them. They got better teams than them. I don't know. I think the WAC is still around, like in terms of basketball and stuff, but you might be going back to the old Western Athletic Conference with all this. And hey, I will say it does suck a little bit for Washington State and Oregon State, those fans, because they just kind of got the bad end of the stick. But if we want to talk a little positive here with the 12-team playoff next year and the top-ranked conference champions get automatic bid. Next thing you know, maybe Washington State, Oregon State, they use that to their advantage. So they can still stay relevant. There is still a way for them to stay relevant. That's the only thing that feels bad. I feel bad about this. I'm going in the other direction too. Everyone says this is the death of college football. This is that. This is the other. This is just where we are now. So you might as well embrace it. You might as well be on the good side, the Big 12 side. So I'm happy with this.
So to dive into some of the that's going on right now, like Christopher said, it's officially the Power 4. I think it's more of the Power 3.5.
ACC, you're next.
GPA?
Yeah,
you're next.
ACC's dropping next for sure. I mean, inside information on Florida State, they have all the power to go independent if they accept some outside funding that could be from a very oil-rich country that also sponsors a golf league
that plays in Florida.
If Clemson and Florida State decide to go anywhere, it's the Power 3. There's no longer a 3.5. I mean, as good as some of the ACC teams are in basketball, just that money from football is going to kill, and not being able to get it is going to eliminate their conference. And the worst part is, if you look at the way the ACC is approaching it, they're kind of following in the steps of the Pac-12. Like they have a little bit more financial backing than the Pac-12 did have. But if they're not adding teams, they're not going out of their way to solidify themselves as like, we're going to stick around as a major conference. Even if we are the 4th best major conference, we're going to be here. They're going out of their way to just kind of stand there. And again, not doing anything, complacency, you're going to get left behind.
100%. And shout out to the chat. It is alive and well on. Everybody's enjoying their Friday happy hour. It is a funeral for the Pac-12 over here on the Big 12 Experience. Shout out to Noah, Chris, Richard, Steven. Appreciate y'all hopping in the chat. But before we continue on with the Big 12 Experience, I got to talk about the Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon because it is perfect for the diehard DGen. Sign up for the Patreon to get access to our exclusive contests, including the NFL Win Total Contest with a $1,000 first place prize, plus a monthly SGPN Stories podcast and ad-free, uncensored, showing the highlights of the best stories from decades of being a DGen. There's even a Discord channel just for you patrons out there. The Sports Gambling Podcast has and will always give out their picks for free. Emphasis, for free. We're not hacking you over here. Hey, give me $99.99 for to go 5-5 on your picks on a Saturday. Every pick is free, and we give out winners left and right. The Patreon is a great way to support the network and fight back against corporate gambling. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon.
We won't make you subscribe to Apple TV.
No,
stay on YouTube.
And if you had bet on Hunter Decker's betting on games, you would have hit that.
I want to touch on what Noah just said because he makes a good point.
Yeah,
I mean, you thought about it when Texas and Oklahoma leaves, They're the two biggest brands. Everybody's writing off the Big 12. They're going to be done. But the innovative thinking of Brett Yormark, and honestly, you got to rewind. You got to give Bob Bowlesby credit for acting quickly. Everybody watching on youtube.com/TCE sees the new logos. You got UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston. Bob Bowlesby acted quickly, got those 4 schools, got those brands in the league, and then obviously it turned into Colorado and soon to be Arizona. But I think Troy, you're absolutely right, and so same as you, Rush. The ACC is next because the ACC is following in the footsteps of the Pac-12. It's something about this coast, I guess the coast to coast, whichever coast you're on, this elitist said, hey, we're the ACC, we're the Pac-12, we're better than you. You should bow down to us. No, fuck you. You guys, the Pac-12 has put no emphasis on their sports and athletics in the past couple of years. You touch on it, Rush. They tried to cancel the damn college football season in 2020. They deserve everything that's come their way. And honestly, I do feel bad for Oregon State, Washington State a little bit, because the way that they did Rolovich that 2021 season, I don't really feel sorry for Washington State either. So fuck them as well. The only one I feel sorry for is the Beavers of Oregon State.
All the sinking ships are on both coasts. How about that, Ryan?
No doubt. No, it's kind of it's fitting because the ACC is next. I know that everybody says that I'm an ACC hater. Yes, I am an ACC hater, but their arrogance of how they have conducted themselves in the last couple of years, it reminds me a lot of what turned the Pac-12 into what the Pac-12 is, and it's not a league anymore. Wait till Florida State leaves. Wait till Clemson leaves. I'm sure the Big 12 is going to pick off Pitt, hopefully, so West Virginia can beat their ass twice a year in basketball and in football, and Virginia Tech. I mean, yeah, I think the ACC is the next one to go. Now, Troy, how about you?
I want to speak on the whole Pac-12 hasn't concentrated on sports. As like a country
football
club
basketball.
Country club sports guy myself, the Pac-12 dominates things like water polo, golf.
It's really
swimming.
Bringing in the money.
You know, they're getting the 85 extra bucks for sending a team of 10 golfers out to a course or whatever. But what I really want to bring up is the coastal elitism that you're talking about. It seems like it has a lot to do with, they know they're going to get viewers. Like on the East Coast, when you have an 8 o'clock game, you're going to get the 8 o'clock viewers on the East Coast. There's no way around it. And kind of the same thing, 11 o'clock East, but 8 o'clock out West. You're going to get those local viewers no matter what. And maybe they got a little too comfortable with just those local viewers and the fact that there's so much population on both coasts. You know what we talk about in all sports, from, little league all the way up through professional sports, is you got to compete. Every fucking minute that you're out there, if you're not competing to be better than who's next to you, you're going to screw yourself. And the ACC's just not competing.
Well, that's the thing, is they remain stagnant. Like the Coach K, Roy Williams, Boeheim days of basketball too. It's like they think they're still like this, like, oh, we're the ACC. And it's like, we've brought this up before. It's like they didn't want West Virginia back in 2012. And now they're reaching out to West Virginia. And it's like
begging.
Yeah. And it's like the popular girl that wouldn't go out with you in high school, but now is pregnant, overweight, and an alcoholic. And it's like, okay, now I'll give you a chance. Yeah. And it's like, come on. It's bullshit. Something Colby brought up on the show, which was a very good point, and something too that Bowlesby and Yormark have done for the Big 12 too that's been excellent. Colby brought up is, he doesn't like what the Big Ten's doing. He likes the regional, and I get that. Unfortunately, it's just those days are over. But the Big 12 poached, not really poaching, but did it out of necessity to survive the conference. And the great messaging that the Big 12 did was, hey, we're not going to, we'll be the best basketball, but we're not going to be the best in football. We understand our place, but we're going to be the most fun. We're going to have the most parity, and our number one down to number, however it ends up being 16, each team will have a chance to beat each other. It's not like Alabama versus Vanderbilt. So it's great. The Big 12 deserves this, and it's just great to be on this side of things, because this was in the making, and it just finally happened. And that's why I just don't. You're right. I feel bad for one program, and that's Oregon State, but everyone else can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, and I also you make a good point about and Colby too, to piggyback off that point. The Big 12 is not responsible for the demise of the Pac-12. You can't say that the Colorado move is what killed the Pac-12. USC and UCLA is what started this.
Texas, Oklahoma, if you really want to go that.
So
they're the one, and the Big 12 had to adjust, and then UCLA are like, well, we want to make money. Like the Pac-12 deals aren't getting done. So it of course created a chain reaction. But the Big 12, all they did was respond. They didn't meddle. And now because of that, because the patience, now they're going to be not on top, but they're going to be remain a power conference and a fun one.
The patience has a lot to do with it, because what Texas did was the equivalent of having like 380 yards to the green and being like, yeah, we're fucking going for it. I know I can get this all there. I want to sign a network deal. I want Texas to always be featured on this network. I want just reruns of Texas sports, even in areas where we could be playing live sports of teams that are going to determine where Texas finishes in the conference standings. And they just, they were just a step ahead. Like if Texas waited to go to the SEC and decided to establish the Longhorn Network, maybe it might work out a little bit better. But all it did, it was a step too early. And all it did was run a bunch of people away from you, thinking like, yeah, we don't want to hang out with this rich motherfucker that has no way to relate to us. He's just the guy that's going to drop enough money to get whatever he wants done. And to be completely honest, not to toot the Baylor horn, but 100% to toot the Baylor horn, Baylor saved the whole Big 12. Having that competitive of a basketball team, and out of nowhere throwing a Heisman candidate in there, and then having a competitive football team after that, not just like a one-hit wonder. Man, Baylor might have saved the Big 12. Even after having like basketball players get shot, they were able to fucking put the program back together. And that's harder to do there. Well, that's harder to do than Texas having all the money in the world and putting a program together. Well, they haven't been able to do that since fucking Vince Young in any sport. Like,
let me ask you guys, like, speaking of patience, now, does the Big 12 maybe just want to say, hey, we see the demise of the ACC. Let's stick it with just Arizona. Let's just stick at 14 and just see what comes out of the ACC that maybe we can grab, because Utah and Arizona State were dicking around, and we tried to help them out earlier, and they were too busy dicking around. I will say I do want the Holy War back, growing up a BYU fan. And I do want you to, even they've been difficult as hell to deal with, I do want Utah in the conference. But from just a strict patience business standpoint, is there a benefit, Ryan, you think, to just being like, yo, let's just chill at 14 and see what happens? We got time on our side.
I'm going to answer that on the other side of this, because we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy on the Big 12 Experience. NFL season is right around the corner, and Underdog Pick'em is a great way to get down on a ton of NFL player props, and available in tons of market, plus plenty of opportunities to win their daily MLB contests. And of course, make sure to enter the Best Ball Mania, where to get a chance to win $3 million. $3 million. That was a nice chunk of change. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit up to $100. That is the promo code.com. Promo code SGPN. And we're back on the Big 12 Experience, talking the end of the Pac-12 and the future of the Big 12. Back to Rush's initial question, should we stay at 14, potentially look to the ACC? How do we handle Arizona State and Utah, who I don't understand where their logic in any of this is? Great question, Rush. It's obviously all we've been doing the show for about 18 minutes or 19 minutes now. We haven't even talked about the future of the Big 12, and this is a Big 12 Experience show. I obviously want Arizona because I want the Arizona basketball brand.
Yeah.
I'm not all in on this Arizona State. I don't think that they offer that much. I know you want the Arizona State from a rivalry standpoint. You like the rivalries. College experience, we like the rivalries. But same with Utah, man. Like, as much as I like the Holy War, you already have the Salt Lake City market with BYU, and they are the bigger brand of the two.
They're a national brand.
Yeah, they're a national brand. And if those two want to be a pain in the ass, I don't think you give them the full $31 million TV agreement. I think you make them partners, kind of like Oregon and Washington are going to be with the Big Ten. Yes, Troy?
So that's the whole complacency versus necessity argument. The Big 12 doesn't, like, Fox is not going to pay enough money to pay out 16 teams. They have enough money set. When I was looking at the financials to get to 14, that's A-okay. They've got enough games already paid for, enough matchups that are going to exist. Now, if you make it 16, there's going to be an additional, I think it was like $21.8 million that they would have to dole out to pay for some of those games. They're probably not ready to do that in terms of how immediate they would want it to occur. But I think, I mean, why not UConn and Miami? Like, why don't you go get those two schools?
I think the ACC is going to be a second, though, because they will demise, but they're like the 2 to 3
Big 12
years
basketball. Like, if UConn and Miami want to play in a real fucking conference, Big 12 basketball is where you're going to get tested. And not only that, kind of how you look at what occurred with West Virginia, I think the football program has gotten better. Even if their record doesn't say so, they're playing real teams now. So maybe their record reflects that a little bit more. And I think you would want that from a school, trying to make a little bit more money, trying to move up, trying to build their brand. Go play Big 12 football or basketball. And if you succeed there really well, your team's ready to do whatever they would like to do, because I see this 3.5, 4 conferences thing only lasting 5 or 6 years before we get back into our actual regional matchups and realizing, we had a great thing. There was no reason to fuck with it.
History is cyclical. Now, they'll make divisions from these conferences, and then those divisions will then end up becoming conferences.
Become their own, yeah.
Yeah, so, but in the meantime, I'm happy with the Pac-12 dying.
I wanted to get to this comment in the chat from Chris. He said, can we talk about how Arizona joining the Big 12 is a threat to Kansas? I think that is actually a real thing, because Arizona has not had the Big 12 brand with them. They've been in the fucking Pac-12. Arizona's rich basketball history under Lute Olson. But I'll tell you another team that could threaten the Kansas year and year after winning the Big 12, that would be UConn. And I'm with you, Troy. And I had some fun with the Kansas fans on Twitter today. You got to love Kansas, because their fans in basketball are absolutely the best. Everybody's talking about what this means for football. They're talking about whether it should be held in Kansas, the conference tournament should be held in Kansas City, and why it should never leave there. Oh, I wonder why they don't want it to leave Kansas City, because you're located less than an hour and it's a home game at the Sprint Center. If they get UConn, this is a guarantee. The Big 12 tournament will be at the Garden or Barclays within 5 to 10 years.
You can even rotate it. Like if you're going to expand the country, 1 year it's in New York, the next year it's in Vegas, the next year it's in Denver. Like, you can,
correct.
Next year it's
Vegas
in Dallas.
Is a great point.
Yeah.
Because, Yormark didn't accidentally start playing camps at Rucker Park this summer. That wasn't just, let's go play at Rucker Park this summer. He's a New York guy with pop culture background. If they get UConn, that gets him the New York market, and it takes this basketball brand of a league that I keep talking about over at the College Basketball Spirits over and over and over again, where, it becomes repetitive, but that's a real thing. Like, you get this brand on a national market at the Garden level, all of a sudden every other league is not even close to you. You're the SEC version of football in terms of basketball. Go ahead, Troy.
I was going to say, I think the Yormark has been working for the last 2 years to get just one individual game at Madison Square Garden. And this December, he finally gets Baylor against Duke. And it's not Kansas, but if you think about the dominance of a college basketball program, Baylor's been right fucking there with Kansas. And the year
last
that
5 years, yeah.
Well, the COVID cancellation of a tournament, you got to think Baylor's like at least an Elite Eight, maybe a Final Four team that year, and then turns around the next year and wins the national title. We could be talking about, 3 straight Big 12 titles with 2 being from Baylor and 1 from Kansas. Texas Tech loses the national title in the final. Man, basketball is what runs this league.
Kansas State Elite Eight this last year. West Virginia the last 15 years under Hugs. Iowa State with all those teams with the mayor recently with Otzelberger. You go on and TCU with Jamie Dixon. I mean, they've been a tournament team recently. This Big 12 basketball, I mean, Texas has been good recently, but they're not losing anything with Texas and Oklahoma leaving the league and potentially bringing in Arizona, and then I don't know when UConn will join. It's not.
You got time with UConn. I will say that UConn is not like an immediate. Like when we talk about patience, it's not like UConn. Like the Big Ten's not going to add UConn. Obviously, the SEC won't, and UConn's not going to join the ACC that they don't even know what's going on. Like you have some time with UConn, but I see this question up here from
a great
Anthony.
question.
That is a great question. If we want to do a little round and robin, my guess is Pitt. We'll say you want to cap it at 4. We'll say 4.
Yeah, Russ, let's play it out where let's say they get to 16 and then they look to the ACC.
Let's keep it simple. We'll assume that Arizona State and Utah, because that is more probable than not happening. So we'll just say the Big 16 with the 4 corner schools. I love how they call it the 4 corners, and New Mexico's not anywhere near it in there. But I'm going Pitt, Virginia Tech, Louisville. I would like Virginia in there, but for some reason that feels like Big 10 to me. I've seen NC State being floated around. I'd be fine with what?
I said Tiki Torches with UVA. They're the Stanford of the East Coast.
that is Mike Gundy might go coach UVA if they join the Big 12.
Bronco Mendenhall coach there.
Sorry, Russ. So you said go ahead. You
so
said
I'm Pitt. I'm gonna say the 3 most likely are Pitt, Virginia Tech, and Louisville. I'm gonna say ideally I would like Virginia because of the West Virginia bias in there. But I saw a graphic that said it would maybe be NC State. NC State would probably be more of a cultural fit than UVA. So I'll go that. I'll say NC State instead of UVA, but I would prefer UVA.
Now I want to. The NC State pick is a pretty good one because that would, in our fan rankings, NC State would immediately skyrocket, not quite to the West Virginia level, but if we're going on BAC, those guys in Raleigh
would be a great city.
That would be an awesome
city to go to.
There's one team out of the ACC that's going to join the Big 12 though, and it's the Miami Hurricanes. They already got UCF, and they're gonna get Miami. If they can get like a super duper as far East Coast as you can get with the most recruits that you can think about down there in the Coral Gables area, the Big 12 wants that team. And I think a team like Virginia Tech also fits in pretty culturally, whereas like you're kind of a located, just a college city, anything that's more than 20 minutes away, nobody gives a flying fuck about. That's perfect for the Big 12, but like we'd want to see Pitt, but I think Miami is that school that they're really, really going to go after.
I think Miami's SEC bound.
I think if Florida State decides to go SEC, I don't think Miami does.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Big Ten made a run at Miami because it's a high academic school and they want to get into Florida. I could see that happening. The number 1 for me personally, and what I think the Big 12 is Pitt. I think it's another city, and they would love the backyard brawl. Virginia Tech, I agree with you guys 100%. Culturally fits with Blacksburg. It's basically another version of Morgantown, even though they don't know how to have as much fun as we do. But I think Louisville, too. Louisville, definitely.
You got to bring that back.
Yeah.
Got to say it right, though. It's Louisville.
Louisville, whatever. However,
if you say Louisville, everybody knows you're a faker. You got to say Louisville.
Yeah, I
make sure you don't really enunciate anything. Just Louisville.
Patinoville, bring back Patino. Yeah, no, those three, I like that because then you could have Louisville and Cincinnati. That's an old rivalry as well. They don't like each other. That's somewhat regional. West Virginia, Pitt, Virginia Tech, all in the same area. And I would look, I may even look at Noah put it in the chat. I think Memphis is an outside the box candidate because of the FedEx money. The FedEx Forum, Penny Hardaway, that brand we saw with Calipari. I would say that. I mean, obviously Miami is not a bad one.
You could always do those three from the ACC, like we said. I'm going to say Louisville, Tech, and Pitt, and then that's where UConn comes in. You just do three from the ACC.
Yeah, I didn't even include UConn because UConn's definitely going to be in this league at some point. I don't see any way that they're not in this league at some point. It's too high a priority for Brett Yormark.
What's the cap, honestly, in terms
24.
of numbers? 24. I like it.
What did I say when we were doing about 2 weeks ago? We were talking about the logos on our graphic having 12 on the bottom and 12 on the top. That'd be 24, and you could split it into 4 divisions.
Yeah, no, I think it. I mean, I know Colby hates it. He hates talking about it. It's basically becoming slowly professional in terms of we're going to have pods, divisions, whatever the hell you want to call it. Anthony Eason in the chat makes a great point. West Virginia had great battles with Louisville. Yes, anytime we can get those old Big East rivalries back in basketball, sign me the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, what's great, you could have the Big 12 where it's the old Big East, still some of that original Big 12, and then kind of that old Mountain West, Western Athletic Conference that was, so you kind of get the best of all those worlds. But also, what else was I going to say? Is with West Virginia, and also Ryan and I do the West Virginia at Ryan and Rush show. Go check it out. Go subscribe. If you get a chance, we'd appreciate that. Is now you have, like, from a West Virginia standpoint, you kind of feel like you're at the center of this league. At once you were an outsider, and now it's like they're having meetings at the Greenbrier, and it just, I know that's a little more personal on our side, Ryan, but dude, it's finally good for West Virginia to be in the center of stuff instead of on the outside, man. It feels good, dude. Even in my family, like I said, my parents went to BYU, my brother went to BYU. I'm an outsider in my own damn family in a playful way, but we're finally on the right side of things, right?
Yeah, I think just from West Virginia Twitter, and then even Iowa State, and just and then the new 4 schools, just are all like, thank God that you're on the right side of expansion. Because when you're not on the right side of expansion, man, it's a shitty time. When West Virginia was going through that Big East to Big 12, not knowing where to go, the ACC, self-righteous ACC, as I like to call them, those pussies, turned West Virginia down because the academics weren't high enough, and it was too hillbilly for them. So, and ironically, 10 years later, they're begging for him to come back, which won't happen. But it's good when you're on the right side. So we got Arizona. What do you think will be the next domino to fall? I guess Arizona technically isn't official. I think we'll get that over the weekend. Rush, what do you think the next official domino to fall is?
I think with everything that's going, sometimes you just have to ask yourself, what's the simplest thing makes the most sense? What is, when you, a lot of noise, what's the most simple? And I like I said, I brought up the patience point, and I think it's okay for the Big 12 to take a step back and kind of do a little bit of a scan. But the simplest thing is Arizona State and Utah join as well. It just, you keep the Dust Bowl, you get the Holy War back. It makes sense.
I don't really think there's a simple answer in terms of
simplest, not a simple, but simplest.
You want Arizona and Utah. At the end of the day, you want those 2 schools just because, Arizona State and Utah, you want those 2 mostly for Utah, but it's not like Arizona State has had a horrible basketball program and, put with a big brand like the Big 12. They could have the same kind of upside that we're looking for from Arizona. Like, they could go from not competing to being like a every year fringe tournament team. Maybe they win a round, maybe they make it to the Sweet 16, something like that. So you don't really hate on the whole Arizona State side. And if it gets you Utah, you definitely take it. But the simplest answer is you got to go get UConn. You have to get UConn, and develop
time.
Sure, but that's what
I'm taking UConn over Arizona State.
Sure, I agree there.
But that's what the Pac-12 and the ACC were thinking is, we have time. We can kind of put out a plan.
You don't have okay.
What if there's what I'm saying is if there's no plan at all, drop the bank on UConn. Let them know you get a full share. We want you in this league.
But you may not be able to offer that right now. The thing is you might
take it away from other teams. Take $2 or $3 million away
then you're creating your own internal strife. And the next thing you know, the Big 12 shoots themselves in the foot, like we just saw with this alliance behind us.
I would argue that UConn's football program is potentially in a better spot going forward with Jim Mora than
give it 2 years.
Title.
I think Jim Mora is going to get that thing going. He gets it going wherever he's at.
Doesn't even have a sports section anymore.
UConn, yeah, I know that was when they were living like the Pac-12 soft ass mindset. But yeah, they've changed their ways. They won a national championship in basketball. In a perfect world, I like Utah and UConn because you get the Utah football brand with Kyle Whittingham. I love that, and you get the Holy War, and then you get the UConn New York City market.
That could be a cool rivalry, you versus you.
Yeah, you versus you.
But what if we throw Miami in there? Then it's like, who's the U?
No doubt.
Oh, it's nuts when you go to Utah and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm at the U," and I'm like, "Guys, you're U of U. This isn't Miami.
You guys don't do coke. Get out of here."
A bunch of fucking Mitt Romneys running around.
There you go. I will also say this too, in terms of because we're talking about basketball a lot too in Utah. I know it's been a little while, but the running Utes in the 90s, I mean, they got a historic basketball name to them too. So
Rick Majerus.
Yeah. So, playing Kentucky and stuff, they would always lose to Kentucky, but I definitely like Utah, and I would probably agree. I would definitely lean towards UConn over Arizona State. I feel like it's going to be Arizona State and Utah because Arizona State's going to understand that they need money, and they'll take. It is more likely that Arizona State takes less money than UConn takes less money.
I think they're both desperate. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And we'll be here every step of the way to cover expansion on the Big 12 experience. But before we get out of here, we got to do a little Friday afternoon film session with the Big 12 guru. And who is our man of D-Gen this week? Let's get
our favorite, the better of the year, or the better of the month, Hunter Deckers.
This is the Hunter Deckers music when he was placing all those bets. $7.50. I want an Iowa State, K-State parlay.
So to be completely honest with everybody, we had we tried to film the Iowa State preview a little bit early. And
yeah, we did.
Within hours of us finishing this Iowa State preview and me telling these two fools that there's going to be at least 20 people suspended from Iowa State for a betting thing.
You really did. It was funny.
I let everybody know. I mean, the best way to find out information is get a dude on the swim team and have him be cool enough that he hangs out just enough with some of the athletes. And he lets you know, man, about a third of the football team had meetings with the athletic director at Iowa State. I think there's something going on. Well, I know right away in today's day and age, that's betting on the fucking games. There's no way around that. So,
two golden rules in life: never trust a man you can't have a beer with, and never trust a guy in the Speedo next to you.
Yeah, never.
So, unless he's your source.
So after getting the news of Hunter Deckers, I think they arrested him. I'm not sure. They might have detained him.
He might have charges
like that. No, I think it's a state charge in
Iowa. It's a criminal. Like it's beyond he's not playing football anymore. Like this is criminal shit.
I know nothing about the actual evidence or whether he's guilty or not. I just know that he had a sit down with an athletic director for a while, along with a bunch of other people on the team. And now we're seeing some news filter out. So I started to go back and look through a few games. And the first one that I came upon was Iowa State. Iowa State finally beats Iowa, right? If you take a look at this 3rd and 3 play from Hunter Deckers, he's got a running back running a wheel where the linebacker is already behind the first down marker. He's one juke away from a first down. And he's also got the receiver at the top of the screen with inside leverage, plenty of room down the field, but that receiver is running a comeback route. So he's got the inside, and he's already got the linebacker running up to the running back on the wheel. All he's got to do, if you go ahead to the next photo that I sent you, Ryan, the receiver turns around and has fucking 7 yards of space where all he's got to do is catch the goddamn ball. And Hunter Dekkers is standing there looking right at him. Like, look at his helmet. He's looking right at that receiver. He gets sacked. On that play, he gets sacked. He does not throw that ball. So we go later in the game. Iowa State forces, or they get a tipped ball interception return to the 12-yard line. In a 3-7 game on 2nd and 10, Hunter Dekkers decides to throw the ball to the guy on the far left of the screen that is bracketed in double coverage. Granted, it's an NFL receiver, but it's 2nd and 10, and he's got a dude right on the hash mark that's running away from all the coverage. All he's got to do is throw the ball to the 10-yard marker, and that guy turns up the field and scores a touchdown. The more that I look at tape from Hunter Dekkers, the more it makes sense that this guy was rigging fucking football games.
There you go. There is your this week's version of the film room with the Big 12
That
guru.
was good. You can see my squiggly lines on my phone trying to like circle people. This is important. This is not important.
Hey, if you think this show is drunk now, just wait until we're obliterated breaking down Big 12 games at Saturday nights.
Especially after West Virginia beats Pitt. There he is right there, Hunter Dekkers. He's
when you hit
the real
over.
man of DJ.
That's your face when you hit the over.
He's the latest guy subscribed to the Big 12 college experience. Hunter Dekkers, shout out. Best of luck, my friend. I hope you hit some parlays in the future.
You need to get bail money somehow.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, no, he needs to hit a 12-legger to get out of whatever he's going to be into. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for this week on the Big 12 experience. I guess we will figure out our Iowa State 2.0 preview post Hunter Dekkers. But before we get out of here, Rambling Rush, tell everybody where to find you.
At Rambling Rush, Twitter, Instagram. Appreciate you all. Appreciate the support. And for the West Virginia-based show, at Ryan and Rush Show, Twitter, Instagram as well. Subscribe to that YouTube page. We really appreciate it. Also do some other Big 12 stuff on there too.
You can always find me just at Troy Chewning on Twitter or at Troy Drinks Miller on Instagram. It would only be for the Instagram stories, I guess. That's all your time is worth. But the Twitter account is probably worth a solid, 5 or 10 minutes a day of just scrolling through.
No doubt. And you guys can find me at Moneyline_Mac. I'm always shitting on the ACC and Pac-12. Hey, everybody listen to this right now. Take 10 seconds out of your day. Go over there, subscribe, leave a 5-star comment. It goes a long way in the future of the show where we can keep bringing you necessary Big 12 information. Hey, we will be back next week with our team previews. Next on the clock, I guess, is Iowa State. We'll figure that out. And then the Kansas Jayhawks football version. So hope everybody has a great weekend. And Troy, what you got?
What's the over-under on when we get the Iowa State preview out? And do you think Hunter is betting on it?
He's going to play some 5-leggers or some parlays this weekend for sure. Yeah, he's got some baseball to bet on. TBT's over. I don't know what he's going to bet on. Maybe he'll save it till Labor Day weekend when he can.
Aussie rules football.
Yeah,
Aussie rules football.
I'm sure there's some football. Just ask Colby what's going on. So, hey, good luck everybody this weekend and let it ride.
Bye, Pac-12. See you later.